So, I recently read an article about a motorcyclist who had pulled a wheelie. Now, unfortunately, the police caught them doing it and started chasing after them. Apparently, this police officer was doing over 100 miles an hour in a 30 just to try and catch up to this rider. And it's kind of sparked a bit of a debate online about whether or not this police officer was in the right for going as hard as they did just to catch a rider who had pulled a wheelie. So, as a motorcycle enthusiast myself, I thought I'd throw my hat into the ring on this one on the Yamaha FZ6. So let's jump on and let's go. Now everyone, before we jump into discussing this today, I think a small disclaimer is in order. I do not condone the use of wheelies on public UK roads. I think they're very, very stupid, they're very, very dangerous. You shouldn't be doing them, and well, I'll have no part in it if that's what you decide to do. Alright guys, all joking aside here. No, you shouldn't be doing wheelies on public roads, alright? You should be, if you're going to practice them, you should be doing them in a controlled environment, somewhere that's off the public roads, alright? Somewhere where the area, the land that you're doing them on, the person who has say over the land will allow you to do it, alright? That's probably the best and safest way to learn or practice wheelies, and there are lots of clubs out there as well where they will teach you lots of courses that they will teach you how to do wheelies, so definitely go and check them out.
When I initially read this article on my phone, for some reason the video clip wasn't anywhere to be seen. It was only later on when I was in the editing process and double-checked the article was when I actually saw the clip was there. And seeing it in person, it does actually change a few things for me in this video. So I don't actually think the police officer did anything wrong up until the point where there were the roadworks coming up and traffic was building up. They were still really hauling on approach to that. I don't think they needed to. I think they could have backed off quite a lot on approach to catching the rider. So from that perspective, I honestly don't think there was anything wrong. Remember that this road is, the speed limit that was set on this road was only temporary. It's not a permanent speed limit. This is probably a road that was either a 50 or a 60 mile an hour road, which has been changed for the roadworks to a 40 and then a 30. So yeah, this, honestly, I don't know why there's such a debate going on here with this, apart from maybe towards the end of the clip. Now, when it comes to the wheelie itself, it's quite a small wheelie, to be honest with you. It wasn't anything groundbreaking. It wasn't anything really that was overly dangerous. Most of the weight was still coming down. You know, as quickly as it came up, it came back down again. It wasn't a big wheelie at all. So I don't think the response was that warranted, really, especially if the police officers knew that there were roadworks coming up a little bit further on. They probably didn't have to go as hard as they did, but to be fair, there was lots of space on the road. There was plenty of opportunity to catch up with the rider, so I honestly, for the most part, I think it's absolutely fine, no big deal. But I do think that we need to reevaluate the dangers of pulling a wheelie. In this instance, there were no traffic around, there were no pedestrians around, it was a straight road. The danger was just to the rider themselves. If that is the case, I don't understand why the police want to enforce this so much when there isn't that much danger present in that moment. I don't know, that's just my opinion. You guys let me know what you think in the comments below.
What an interesting debate. I love topics like this because it really does blur the lines between, well, where crime starts and, well, I don't know, I suppose where getting away with it starts, because there probably would have been a number of police officers in that situation, in that moment, that simply wouldn't have bothered going after them if it meant that they had to go that quick through a housing estate, or you know, an estate where there might be children running around, things like that. It was quite a dangerous thing to do from the police officer. And as much as I complain about 30 mile an hour roads, in a lot of cases, they're meant to be that speed, all right? Like a road like this, yeah, this is a 30-mile-an-hour road here. It makes sense for it to be a 30. There's a built-up area, lots of houses, no railings or protection on the pavement, you know, things like that. It makes sense. And I believe that police officers, they do have to assess whether or not chasing someone is safe in a particular instance, because there have been times where unfortunately, crashes have happened where people have died because of police initiating a chase. And my dad was he's a retired police officer, and there have been occasions where he's told me about police chases that he was on, and they had to get approval from basically headquarters to proceed with the chase. And there are plenty of videos, I'm sure, that you've seen of police officers doing these kinds of chases. But I have seen clips of riders doing pretty much accidental wheelies where their tire doesn't get even an inch off the ground, you know, a few centimeters off the ground, and apparently that's enough for a police officer to go and chase after them and give them a ticket. And I don't think that's right, personally. You know, that could quite easily come down to an accident. It could quite easily come down to, you know, simply just getting off the line a bit quickly, because that's what happened in this particular clip that I saw a little while ago. But it is interesting, isn't it, that apparently here in the UK, a wheelie is one of those things that you shouldn't get away with doing. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. I kind of understand if the police officer saw them doing it, pulled them over, and, you know, at some point pulled them over and then gave them a telling off. That I would kind of understand, because it enforces that deterrence factor, and it doesn't kind of make you hate the police, you know? You've been caught doing something that you shouldn't have been doing, and everyone can move on with their day. But it does go back to an experience that I had where, I mean, this is a long time ago. This is back in 2013, I think, where I got caught speeding, and it was, I think I got caught doing 37 or 38 in a 30, something like that. But the police officer that caught me was in an unmarked car. And look, I took my licks, alright. I didn't argue with him. I was like, alright, that's fine, whatever. Book me. It is what it is. But I really wasn't happy with the fact that it was an unmarked police officer that had caught me, because the deterrence factor isn't there, because you're not aware that you're being filmed. You're not aware that you're being targeted. So I don't like that. You know, some people will say, oh, that's entrapment. Apparently it's not. A police officer or a council, they don't have to display when a camera is being used to enforce speed laws and things like that. But let's remember here that speed cameras are most effective when they act as a deterrence, when people can see the camera coming, right? Because it forces them to slow down. They don't want to get caught. And half the time, I'm pretty sure these cameras aren't even running. But that deterrence factor is enough to slow people down. Anyway, that's a side note to this, but it does kind of give you a bit of an idea of the lengths that police will go to enforce the law. By the same token, there have been other police officers where they have caught me doing something I shouldn't have been doing. They give me a good telling off, and that's it. And then I'm let go. And you kind of learn your lesson at that point. You know, you're like, right, oh crap, I don't want to get any points on my license. I don't want to have to pay a fine. Things like that. But anyway, so yeah, this debate has come about, and I can see both sides of the argument here, to be honest with you. Not from a motorcyclist perspective per se, but just from a logical point of view. It does make sense that the police officer shouldn't have really been doing those kinds of speeds in in a speed limited environment, if it was on a motorway, I don't think it'd be a big deal. But I don't know, man. It's a tough one because I see it from both sides. The police officer, obviously, they felt like this had to be done. They made that decision, spur of the moment. And look, pulling wheelies, as much as I disagree with it, as much as I disagree with it being against the law to pull a wheelie, even though there's no law specifically saying that wheelies are illegal, I still understand that those are the rules. Those are the rules that we have to abide by here in the UK. And us bikers, we like to be a bit cheeky. We like to go above the speed limit every once in a while. We like to do things that we probably shouldn't do. And I don't know if this is like some kind of crackdown initiative on motorcyclists pulling wheelies. It is something that I've seen more often in recent years, but honestly, every time I've seen a motorcyclist doing a wheelie, it's either been very controlled, like they're in full control of the bike, or it's just a little one and the front end comes down almost immediately. So, yeah, man, I don't know, because there was also another article which I read up about where there was an Instagram influencer who had put out a video that got millions and millions of views of them basically doing lots of wheelies and lots of stunts. It looked really cool, and to be honest, in most cases they were in environments where, kind of like this, where the danger is just to the rider. So anyway, and this person, they got caught doing that, and they've been booked. So that I don't necessarily agree with either. But there has been this trend of more dangerous motorcycle riding recently, which I don't condone. But at the same time, I'm not going to judge you if that's the way you like to ride a motorcycle. I'm not going to judge you for it. People, they like to ride their bikes every which way, any which way. And, it is what it is. You can have lots of fun on a motorcycle in so many different ways. People like to ride their bikes in different ways to have fun. So anyway, I see this from both sides. I don't know what the correct answer is here. There's loads and loads of different opinions here, and police, they need to have the power to enforce the law. That's what they're there to do. So I'm not going to judge a police officer for doing that, but if their assessment of the situation put either themselves in danger or other people in danger, then it probably wouldn't have been worth it, right? So I don't know, man. I don't know. This is an interesting one. And it's one of those debates where I don't think there is a right or wrong answer here. A decision was made to chase this motorcyclist, and you could make the argument that the motorcyclist had it coming if they were pulling a wheelie in the first place. That's what started this whole thing off, that this motorcyclist pulled a wheelie. So absolutely, it's their fault. But it was up to the police officer to decide whether or not it was worth chasing them like that to pull them over. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's a difficult one because, like I said, I see it from both sides of the argument, and I accept both sides of the argument, to be honest. The outcome, as far as I'm aware, didn't result in anyone getting hurt or anything like that. So from the police perspective, it was a job well done. But in the public eye, public are very, very anti-speed these days. I'm not so much. I'm actually one of those people who believes we should be trying to find ways of getting traffic moving quicker, allowing traffic to move faster. And road safety is one of those things where you're never going to be able to get 100% safety record on any road in the world because of the nature of this. You're in a car or on a motorcycle that is doing a certain speed. You crash at that speed, you're going to get seriously hurt or you're going to die. And it's up to the skill of the rider or the driver in question that makes the difference, whether or not someone crashes and dies, or they have a full and long career driving and riding. So, to be honest with you, like, man, I keep toing and froing from this as well. Like, because I'm not one of those people that thinks we should be cracking down on speed that much, and we should be finding ways to allow drivers to go quicker to get to their destination. From that perspective, I actually agree with the police officer. They should have been able to go as fast as they like to try and catch this person. So it goes both ways, you guys. But I think when it comes down to it, all right, the rider, and look, every motorcyclist in the UK understands this, that if you're going to speed, if you're going to try and do stunts on public roads, and you get caught, you've got to take your licks. Simple as that. That's the game that we play. Alright? And that's just the way it is. We do things all the time where if we were getting caught, we'd be in a lot of trouble. But we know when and where to do these things. Alright? Like with anything, there's a safe place to do wheelies. Alright? On a lot of the roads that I've been riding on, there are safe places to do wheelies where the danger is only to the rider and to no one else. So from that perspective, again, it's like, well, if that rider pulled a wheelie in a place where, to be honest with you, is country road territory, there's no traffic around, it's a straight road, things like that, then what's the problem? Fine, let them get away with it. But if this was in a built-up area as well, like here, for example, I decided to do a wheelie here and I got caught, then you've got to take your licks. Simple as that. All right. But I think is I don't want to polarize people with this. I actually want to come at this from a perspective of neutral ground where, like, sure, I appreciate wheelies. I think wheelies are cool, but there is a right time and a right place to do them. And unfortunately, there's lots of wrong times and lots of wrong places to do them as well. So for me, a lot of it depends on where this wheelie was done, whether or not I would switch my argument and say, yeah, this rider fully deserved what he got, and the police officer was well within their rights to go after this person if they were being stupid in a place where, like I said, lots of pedestrians or cyclists or what have you, an area where there's potentially a lot of danger. But yeah, that's my take on it, you guys. You let me know what you think about it in the comment section down below. I'll leave a link to the article in the video description, so you can check it out for yourself. You can see some of the comments and things like that. But I think when at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, you guys, I think we need a balanced argument for all this. It's the deed was done. The police officer did their job. Whether they did it too rashly or whether they did it too fanatically, I don't know if that's the right word or not here to use, but you know what I mean. Is there a point at which a police officer goes too far to try and do their job? And there are lots of lines which may have been crossed here. Anyway, you guys, you let me know down in the comment section below how you feel about this. Should police officers have every power to enforce the law? Should they be allowed to go as far as they need to enforce the law? Or is there a point at which enforcing the law becomes a danger to the public, if you like? You know what I mean? Is there a line at which police officers shouldn't be allowed to cross? I think if you live in the United States, then I think you know what the answer is immediately. US police, they don't care. They don't give a damn. But yeah, here in the UK, police, there are a lot of rules around police officers, and it doesn't matter how you feel about it. The police officer who made that decision, no doubt, is going to be in some trouble for this, because it's a public image disaster, really, for the police in question. Putting public health at risk to enforce the law. I don't know if that's something that should be allowed. So, but yeah, the debate rages online still, you guys. Definitely go ahead and let me know what you think down in the comment section below. But that'll do for this one today. Thank you ever so much for joining us on this one. Don't forget to leave that like, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell for more content like this on the Yamaha FZ6, and we will catch you all in the next video. Have a good one.